Okay.
Parsha.
So, Parsha. An interesting point I hadn't really thought about, but I heard briefly in a 3-minute little Dvar Torah I was listening to on my way here by Ari Khan. We noted already that Yitzchak's identity in the Parsha is very much, and in general in Chumash, is very much the continuation of the chain of Avram. And for that reason, so much of what we know about Yitzchak is really in that context, right? Akedat Yitzchak, as much as it's called Akedat Yitzchak, is a story about Avram, not Yitzchak, right? The entire story.
It's still blinded Yitzchak.
Okay, fine. I mean, there might have been consequences, but the entire story of Yitzchak's marriage is a story of Avram arranging for him to get married, and at the end, he happens to meet his wife, and they get married, and it's great, right? And then, as soon as you finish that, the first thing you find out about Yitzchak is that Yitzchak has children, right? That is, and it's only that parak in the middle where you hear anything about Yitzchak himself, which is not about his father, not about his children.
It's just about Melech.
Yes, exactly. But what I hadn't really thought about is, okay, so that makes sense that so much of his life is focused on Avram. But maybe it wasn't, this was sort of implicit in what we were saying, but I think it's worth being spelled out, that it's not just that he's the next link in the chain of Avram. Right? His identity is more than that. What's his identity really? That let's be more precise. His identity is not just the continuation of Avram, but
passing it on.
Yeah, exactly. Right. His identity is the person who enables there to be a tradition. Right. His identity is therefore not just Avram. That's only half the truth. It's also that he's the father of Yaakov, and therefore the biggest drama in his life in Toldot is the entire story about the brachot. And the biggest drama for him, for Avram, there's no drama. He doesn't bless Yitzchak. Right? Avram is the trailblazer. Avram begins the tradition. He begins the dynasty, and Hashem blesses him, and Hashem will bless his children, and he educates his children. But blessing his children is not a big deal, right? That's not the drama of his life. The drama of Yitzchak's life is that he decides to pass on the bracha of Avram, right? That he decides to pass it on to his children, and Perek Chav Zayin, the tension is that Rivka believes he's doing it wrong. So this is for Yitzchak not just a problem, right? For him, his entire life is about this question. Right? Half his life was about successfully taking in the Mesora of Avram. Half of it is now what is he going to do with it going forward, and therefore he makes a big deal about calling his child and saying, I want to give you a bracha. And that's why Rivka has to say, Oy Gewalt, right? My husband's identity, which is to pass on the Mesora, he's doing it to the wrong person. And that's why she intercedes. And therefore you actually see these two sides of Yitzchak's personality, right? Or not two sides of his personality. The two expressions of Yitzchak's mission in life. And that leads us to the end of the parsha, which again is this whole mess and a half about the brachot that he wants to pass on. Now there's a lot to say on those. Maybe I'll throw out some things on those psukim. It is really not clear what's going on there, right? It really is unclear what's going on there. It's clear that Yitzchak wants to give brachot, and it's clear that he wants to give whatever bracha it is that he wants to give to Esav. But that's all we know. We don't know whether he also intended to give a bracha to Yaakov. And in fact, we have certain evidence that he did. What's the evidence that he did?
He still had a bracha left to give to Esav after the fact.
Well, that wouldn't prove anything. There was something even more, right? Meaning, Esav makes a whole big deal. Oh, you already blessed Yaakov, don't you have another bracha for me? And Yitzchak says, no. He says, really, really, really? He says, okay, I have something for you. Except, what would you think? At that point in the story, what would you then think?
He's giving Esav Yaakov's bracha.
No, because he said, don't you have any other bracha? And he says, yeah, whatever, I have something. So now, if let's say a third person would come to him and say, Yitzchak, do you have another bracha? What would he say? No, like I'm mamish, like I am so out. I was out before.
I think he gives Yaakov the second bracha.
Correct, that's the problem. At the end of the parsha, when he knows it's Yaakov and he's sending Yaakov down to get married, he initiates an entire bracha. Right? He says, "Vayavarech oto v'yitzaveu vayomer lo lo tikach yishav benot Kinaan kum leich paden aram beita betuel avi imecha v'kach lecha misham yishav benot Lavan achi imecha." Right? Go and marry. Which, of course, here this is the Avram Yitzchak moment. Right? This is where you see his emphasis on continuing not just the bracha, but continuing the family. Right? This is where Avram did the same thing. But what does he say? Ve'el Shaddai yivarech otcha v'yavrecha v'yirbecha v'yitel kalamim v'yitel lecha birkat Avraham l'chol zaracha ata itach l'rishtecha eretz migurecha asher natan Elohim la'Avraham. Not only does he give him a bracha, what bracha does he give him in Pshat?
Birkat Avraham.
Yeah, birkat Avraham. Which means, and several Mefarshim have suggested this, especially modern ones, that the entire story is one huge mistake. Right? I mean that Rivka misinterpreted the situation, that she thought that Yitzchak was trying to give Yaakov Birkat Avraham, and it turns out that was never the plan, that was never what was going on, because Avram's bracha is only given over when Yitzchak actually knows exactly who he's talking about, and after he claims to have exhausted all other brachot, you would think that if he said, I exhausted all the brachot, and then he pulls out Birkat Avraham, right, you would think that was something that was... Right. You would think that would be right. That's sort of a big one left in your arsenal, right? You would think you wouldn't say I have no bracha left. So there are several commentaries that really think that what you learn from the end of the parsha is that this entire story was a big mistake, and that he always intended to give the real bracha, the Birkat Avraham, the transmission of Mesora to Yaakov, and all the other brachot are something totally different, having to do with maybe political power and financial wealth and things like that. Maybe we'll get back to that more tomorrow, but just for the purpose of what we were talking about today, I think this highlights the point, right? Is that if this is true, right, if this is correct, then it's not just that Yitzchak's identity is taking the Mesora from Avram and passing it on. The misunderstanding that Yitzchak might be about to fail in his life mission by giving the bracha to the wrong person, if this read is correct, that's not true either. Right? That the whole drama was just a mistake, that Yitzchak was completely clear-eyed about who was going to get the Mesora. Right? Whatever else is happening was a mistake. But then if you read it that way, then from the beginning to the end, what you see is someone who is fully capable, fully aware, fully willing to spend his life taking the Mesora from Avram and transmitting it to the right person. Right? So that's just some thoughts about that aspect of it. Maybe tomorrow we'll delve a little bit more into the bracha story, but part of it is just that, like, I gave it last year, and, like, you know, those are the parts you can't skip, so I didn't skip them last year, but, like, okay, anyways.